It's that time. It's another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. And this time, the air is going to be full of games. Games and games and games. And we're going to talk about gaming and we're going to talk about beer. So let's get right to it. I have two great interviews for today for this podcast. We have Chris McDowell once again, bringing back good old Chris, his fan favorite. He is going to be talking a little bit about online games, specifically a type of simulator game. He is also going to be talking about board games, and we'll talk a little bit about poker. So we're going to have Chris up first, and then after Chris, we're going to have another fan favorite, our fan favorites, James and Zaida Pavlovsky, otherwise known as my two doors down neighbors, and we will be bringing you a great dominoes game called Moon. It's a fantastic game. If you're familiar with dominoes, this is just a variant of a type of dominoes game. If you're not familiar with Moon, it is very similar to games that have are card games that have trumps. For example, spades and hearts and pinochle and even euchre and even bridge. If you have what could be called a trump, trump being a suit that is being led in order to take tricks, which are just hands as you go around the group, then you will be familiar with this, and you'll figure it out. So we have a great play-by-play that we did for Moon, and you'll see the results of that. And maybe if you're interested, direct message me, and we can start playing a little bit. Maybe we can get together after this virus nonsense and get to going what we need to get going. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Interview Hub. Interview Hub is going to interview Chris first, and then we'll come back, and then I'll lead into the James and Zaida. So let's go. Let's go and listen to Interview Hub and Chris. Take it away, Interview Hub. Hey, yeah, thanks, Podcast Hub. Interview Hub here again, and interviewing bringing back another favorite of ours, Chris McDowell. Chris, we had out here for San Antonio boy, bringing out music last time, and now we're going to talk about gaming. So take us through, Chris, the game that we were just talking about, and show us the pieces that come with it, because to me it's very interesting. I think our audience would like it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Javi. I'm one of my favorites too. Uh, the game I was talking about that I play, it's called Elite Dangerous, is the title, and it is a space flight and combat simulation game set several hundred years in the future. And essentially, you are a pilot. You start off with your own ship, and you can do pretty much whatever you want to as far as occupations go. You can be a cargo pilot, hauling supplies between one star system to another. You can be a combat pilot. You can run passenger liners. You can do exploration, explore new star systems. It is set in an era where faster than light travel has become commonplace. Um, hauling Piloting ships between star systems is no different than you and I would get in the car and drive to San Antonio. It's
Okay.
just something people do, and it's set uh, in our world, just in the future. It's a one-to-one recreation of the Milky Way galaxy. There are 400 billion star systems in the galaxy. You can theoretically go to any one of them.
Okay.
Um, some of them are inhabited. Humanity by this time has moved out into the galaxy and colonized many star systems. There are many inhabited systems, but there are also remote systems that you can go out and explore. You map the star system, map all the planets, and then you can bring that back to populated space and sell that data and get credits.
Cool.
The object of the game is there's no really end goal. It's more of a simulation. But the idea is the more experience you accumulate, the more credits you accumulate. You can use that to buy more advanced ships or more advanced components for your ships to make them do certain roles better. If you're a combat pilot, a more capable combat vessel, more capable weapons, more capable shields, just for an example. It is a massively multiplayer game, so in addition to computer-controlled pilots, you will also find other human pilots out there.
Yeah.
You might find yourself in cooperation with them or in competition against them.
Nice. Well, great. So I know you were saying that not everyone has to do it, but show us if you could, show us the controllers that you have to actually pilot the ship.
Yeah, it is not a requirement by any means, but I use a fairly high-end control stick.
Yeah, that's high end, man.
And then on the throttle assembly over here, each of these keys and switches is mapped to a certain function in the game.
Wow.
For example, engaging the warp drive. It's not called warp drive, but just for broad strokes purposes.
Yeah.
Activating certain systems in the ship. It's all I can do it all from keeping my hands on the stick and on the throttle, and without having to look for the key on the keyboard. It becomes very intuitive and second nature after a while. So I find myself, controlling the stick without having to look, and gives you much more sense of control. I play it on PC. The game is available on Xbox and PS4 as well, with the little controller. So it can be done, but it's much more. It feels much more comfortable and in control with the stick.
Well, I would think it'd be more visceral as well. It's more tactile. It's more actually doing something rather than just.
Exactly. I actually feel like I'm controlling the ship rather than playing a game.
Nice. You have to forgive the noise. I think he's pressure washing everything right now. So, if I forgive the audience for it. But all right, so cool. So all right, we got that game. So let's talk about. I know we both play a game that we love, poker. We love to play that. So how did you? First of all, how did you get in? How did you find this simulator game?
A friend of mine that I used to work with at a previous company was a big fan of it, and he was always talking about it. And he got me to try it out. That was back on Xbox when I started playing it, and I just became hooked. I moved over to PC mainly because my next purchase is probably going to be a really good VR system. Elite Dangerous supports VR, and from what I understand, it is one of the best VR experiences you can find in a video game.
Nice.
Being able to look around instead of I can control my point of view with a button on the stick, but being able to just move my head and follow and track the ship that I'm trying to,
That's you have to give yourself a lot of space because you're gonna move or you're gonna just fall over or anything like that because you're gonna be moving. So that's really cool. So you're gonna have to let us know when you get that set up because we'd like to see it. Maybe put a little go.
Some people have told me that some people actually get motion sickness playing the game, and in a weird, sick way, I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, I tell you, that is cool. Excellent. All right, well, let's switch over to card and or board games. I talked a little bit about poker. You like to play poker. I like to play poker. In this day and age, I know it's kind of tough. I know you do an online version of gaming with some friends. And how's that working out for you guys? Everything good, or you a lot of hiccups?
It's actually worked very well. We have it's an online poker site similar to Poker Stars, but basically we set up a private table, and everybody Venmos or PayPal's their buy-in to the guy running the game, and then we put in our virtual chips on the screen, and once we at the end of the night, everybody gets paid back out through Venmo or PayPal. Now, because it's online poker, I think it's almost a psychological thing. We expect the hands to be strange, so we start convincing ourselves that, man, I see a lot of flushes. There's a lot of straights winning tonight, and we start imagining that the site is somehow dealing the cards funny. But I think in reality, it's just statistically, you see a lot more hands in a night online than you do live, because you're not having to take the time to physically shuffle the deck and deal the cards out manually, and then all the conversation in between
I was
hands,
gonna say, yeah,
hand after hand after hand. So
shooting the shit, and then everybody's like, I gotta get up and I gotta use the restroom. All right, let's take a 10-minute break.
but we're seeing a lot more hands, and I think that's why you see a lot of the flushes and straights, and you remember those more often than you do just the
Right.
king high who happens to win that hand. So
Again,
I think it's just a mental thing.
you're focusing more on the game itself because it's online than you would if it was live and you can, like you said, get up and move around. Oh, hey, is that pizza over there? And you go over there and
Mhm.
and you get a bite and you're like, hey, send me out for this one, or everybody like you gotta have bathroom breaks and stuff like that. So yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, and
So
we do a Zoom video call at the same time, so I have a little
sure,
screen with all of them up there. But this is a group. I've told you about this group before. You've played with us several
I play with
times.
you. Yeah, yeah,
This is a group of friends. We've been playing poker together for a good 10 or 12 years now. This same core group of about 10 guys,
yeah,
and we started off just as a regular weekly game, but then we started arguing over who was the best player, and so we decided, well,
hmm
let's figure it out. And so we started keeping stats. And so every year counts as a season, for lack of a better term.
sure,
And throughout the year, we keep track of how much each player wins, how many times, or how well they placed in the nightly tournaments, who knocked them out, and there's just row after row of statistics that we keep. And
yeah.
at the end of the year, we tally up all the stats, and we have one person who's declared he's the poker player of the year, and that guy gets his name on a little plaque on this very large trophy.
Nice.
You get bragging rights for that trophy, but there's also a penalty involved with it. You are expected to bring that trophy. This trophy is a good 3 feet high.
Yeah.
You have to bring that trophy with you to every game. If you show up at a game without that trophy, you pay a penalty of something like $50 that you have.
Wow.
And then we have an annual game in January. The group goes for the biggest game of the year. We go to Las Vegas as a group. Um, and it's become a tradition. So it was one of the things I missed the most when we went into lockdown was getting together with the guys who play poker.
Sure.
So
Sure.
this has kind of filled the gap a little bit, but I'm anxious to get back to the real thing.
Great. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I'm anxious as well. I didn't throw them as often as I would like to, but I definitely like squeezing them in between my tasting parties. And so once everything's back up, I'll be throwing it out your way, letting you know, let you and Maya know, and then you can definitely come over and take some more of my money. So
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be good. All right.
and
So
actually,
what's
my girlfriend Maya has started playing with us from time to time, and
she's good.
she is winning more than I am, and it's a little bit frustrating. I mean, on the one hand, I'm kind of proud of it. On the other hand, I'm a little bit annoyed. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah. Yes, but then again, tell our audience, what does Maya do for a living?
uh, she is, her profession is she's an insurance actuary, so she deals with statistics on a daily
Yeah,
basis. Is
yeah,
what she does. She's a math degree, so she knows a little bit about calculating
a
odds
little bit about calculating
and stuff
statistics
things off.
on the fly even. So,
Mhm.
I could see where she might be doing a little bit
Right.
okay. Yeah, yeah, just a little bit okay. So,
Mhm.
excellent. That's awesome. No, I definitely have to have y'all both over again. So, before I go, let's go old school. Let's talk about board games.
Yeah.
Growing up, and I know you have at least one sibling. You have more than one sibling or one sibling?
One younger sister.
Okay. Now, did y'all play a lot of board games when you were kids? And if you did, what board games did you play?
Uh, my father taught us a board game called Stratego.
Oh, yeah.
I can't pronounce that
Yeah,
right.
Stratego, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that to this day. Stratego and Risk are probably my two favorite old school board
Risk
games.
is huge.
Yeah, although Maya's huge into board games as well, and she turned me on to a game called Let It Ride. I don't know if you've ever played that. It's a strategy game. Um, it's based
That
on
sounds familiar. Is
railroads.
that like a very old Western game?
It's railroads. And
Yeah,
so the board game, the board is a map of the U.S. and there are other maps as well, but the core one is the U.S. and cities all over it. And you draw cards and you get these. You're supposed to complete train routes from, say, Kansas City to New York, for
right.
example. And the idea is to accumulate routes, like, and you place your trains along the route from city to city, while trying to complete as many routes as you can, but possibly trying to prevent your opponent from completing their routes by blocking segments so that they can't complete the route.
Gotcha.
And it's strategy. This is what it comes down to.
No, that's cool. Yeah, and Risk is huge. I know a lot of people that play Risk. My grandparents had a very, very old Risk board, like very old. All the individual pieces were uh, shaped pieces of wood that
Oh
were
yeah, it's old school.
and they had little containers for it, and there was pink and blue and red and green and I like six colors, and I just thought that was amazing. Now the board was falling apart. It was like one
Mhm.
breath away from it just turning into dust and going away. But the pieces were fantastic. I wish I could have found that board, years ago before they passed, and before, well, even before that, and see if I could have gotten a hold of it because it was really like the keepsake itself was just the pieces. And the board was like prior to the Cold War. So I mean, you're like, is that even a country, or does that even exist? That's how old it was, and it was a fantastic board. And we didn't play it that much, a lot of us, but the few of us that did were was really good. It was a great board.
What I like about Risk is if you get a group of equally skilled players together, a game of Risk can go on for, I mean, the better part of a day, if not more.
Definitely.
Not,
Yeah, I've played that. I think the longest I ever played was like 6 hours. But I mean, it was 6 hours, and so it was well more than that. So, all right, so that's cool. Before we like blast off, let me think. So we played poker. We did the video game experience. He's right on me, so you can probably hear. Um, he's blasting away on my window. Oh, he's cleaning my windows for me, so at least that's good.
I
Yeah,
actually
so
don't hear it, but
you can't hear it?
not on my end. But
Oh, well,
maybe
that's great then. So then people were freaking out, like, what the hell is he talking about? That'll work too. Okay, so we talked about poker, we talked about simulation online games, and we talked about old board games. What would you think is your favorite? Let's go old school. What's your favorite board game of all time? Whether you play it a lot now or not, what's your favorite board game of all time? I'm going to be asking this of my other guests as well.
I mean, it comes down to, I mean, Risk or Stratego, but I think it's got to be Risk just because
Risk?
it's so
Yeah,
there, it's so layered. There's different strategies that everyone has their favorite strategy, but it depends on if you get the countries you want to start off with. So you
yeah,
have to be flexible. Whereas Stratego is a little more, it's the same game every time. At least it feels
yeah,
like to me.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely Risk is probably my favorite.
Excellent. Sweet. Well, thank you once again for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know, with I'm sure you're running around thousands of
Oh
errands.
yeah,
Okay.
entertaining.
Well, good. Well, thanks again. And we will, I'm sure we'll talk again. We have other episodes that I'm sure I'll be bringing you on. I'd like to have you on as a panel member as well.
You'll
And
get the paintball eventually.
yeah, we'll get going on it, man. All right. Well, thanks again. And I will talk to you later.
Yeah, man. Good talking to you. See you.
Thanks, interview, Hal. So there we have it. Great interview with Chris talking about the simulator that he was talking about, which those pieces, controllers that he has are pretty wicked, and I thought they were really cool. So that's why I made sure that he showed us what it was. So very interesting. Kind of reminds me, and yes, I'll be dating myself. Kind of reminds me of a simulator that I did for the Commodore 64. That's right, Commodore 64. It was a very labor intensive game. You really couldn't do that much, and you always had to stop and use your ram scoops. That's right, ram scoops, to be able to get enough fuel to get to your next destination. I may have said a little bit about it on the interview, but I just want to reiterate that Commodore 64. So it was horrible. Anyway, so now we're gonna go into the card game section of this. I wanted to jump right into this right away, and then I'll have a little afterwards about that, and then we'll go into the next section of the podcast. So here is James and Zaida and I, and we walk you through a quick game. It turns out to be a quick game of Moon. Hey everybody, Javier here. Going with our theme for the podcast of gaming. I'm here at the Pavlovsky's home. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are here to talk about the game Moon. Moon is one of the games having to do with dominoes. Moon was first established in the 19th century, made popular in Texas by the Baptists that have because they thought cards was sinful. So, as we like to play Moon, now Moon is very similar to many card games that have suits and trumps. So, for example, spades and even pinochle, stuff like that. Anything that has a suit, and then you have to have trumps. So it's a lot less than you would with cards and everything. And so, as you see here, James has already picked out all. Now we're using double six dominoes, and we have all the blanks out. Is that correct, James? Except for
double blank.
Except for double blank. Okay. So in our tradition, and against the Baptist creed, we like to start off our games of Moon by having a little drinky. This is a cool glass, by the way, and we'll just drink up and toast everyone out there.
Salute.
Ooh, liquor of choice is tequila.
Salute.
It's a nice one out here today. Double six dominoes, so we decide, we shake them up, and we decide who gets to go first by turning over a domino. So Zyda, go ahead and turn her over. She's at 7. James is at 5. At 7, so we have to pick again. Zyda, pick again. She's got a 5, and I'm going with 7 again. Yes, so that means I get to go first. James gets to shake, and Zyda will get to pick as well. This is a game where you pick 7 dominoes, so you have trumps, or you make a bid for how many tricks you think you are going to win. That number is starting with a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 7. So I'm going to choose my 7, and now we're going to Go ahead and pick your Zyda. Zyda's gonna pick her 7. Now, depending on the suit, on what you think you can win. So it's a matter of what you think you can win, just like you do with trumps of any other game. So for people who see my hand, we're actually gonna try to go with this one, and then we'll play that one, and then we'll play that one, and then we'll play that one. And then we'll play these 2, and then that one. So since I get the bid first, for me, I'm thinking I'm gonna bid 6.
I'm gonna shoot it.
Oh, Zyda's gonna shoot it. Shoot it means that she is telling us I am going to win every trick. James, what would you like to do now?
But since both of y'all have such great hands, I'm gonna pass.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I have, and the audience can see, I have a gut 6. So Zyda, you go right ahead.
Show them what I have.
Yeah, show them what you have. That'd be great. So Zyda is now showing you what she feels is a hand that's going to win every trick, and I have a feeling that she already has every
Okay,
trick.
now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the widow since I won the bid, and you can see what I get. And it's really, I don't know what to throw away because they are all doubles and trumps.
Oh my
So
God.
I will take the lowest one, which is this one, and throw it away. And I will start with my main double of my trump.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So they have thrown. So there are 6 trumps. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got them all out. I can lay my hand down and my doubles, and I've got all of them.
Look.
So I have won the hand, and I get 14 points out of the shooter.
Oh man, way to go, Zyda. What was in the widow?
Double 5. I had to throw away double deuce.
I could have shot it as well. The audience will see what I had. I could have shot it as well and gotten that double, and I would have done it. So, so that was one hand, and so we're gonna play one more game, because Zyda might actually win right here. play one more hand, and then we're gonna turn it back over to interview Hav. So she's shaking the bones, as we like to call it, shaking the bones. James gets first pick because Zyda shuffled, so he grabs his 8. Oh, 7. I always try to get him on that. If you pick too many, you have to kick one back, and normally when he does, that gives me an opportunity. So I'm gonna pick my 7. Now James, I'm gonna give it to James so he can play and show his. So show what you have, James, and then you can do, since you're bidding first, you can bid and say what you bid.
Yeah, so looking at my hand, unfortunately, the minimum bid is 5 tricks. And so I have 1, 2, 3 in this suit. And then I don't have any other good dominoes to play, so I am going to have to pass. Now, there's a variation. Our game that we play is actually a variation of traditional Moon, in that in traditional Moon you played a 21, well, we played a 15, and then in traditional Moon you can bid 4, 5, 6, 7, or shoot it. Which our minimum bid is not 4, it's 5. And so one of the reasons we like to play this way is because, well, a couple of reasons. Number one, the games go by faster because you're only playing to 15. And number two, therefore, because the games go by faster, gambling allows us to make more money if we have good hands. So let me give this back to Hav.
So, all right. So, as you can see from the audience, people looking, I have no way of going 5, so I'm gonna pass as well. And then Zyda's gonna show you what she has.
I have a pretty good hand. They have passed, so I'm hoping there's something in the widow. So I'm going to go 5. That's not bad. So I will throw away something that I don't think will do anything. So I will throw that one away. And I will start out with this one. Double 5.
I will follow suit.
And that's what I was hoping for, because with that gives me my 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, an additional 5.
Oh my god.
What's your other trick? Because you caught 6.
Yeah, you caught 6.
So that's the game.
So that's the game. So pretty much you can see that wound up being really good for Miss Zyda here. She has now won the game, and then she now gets money from us, $1 a game, because we play nice. These are friendly rules. And so Zyda, you now are $2 up. And that is our Moon description today. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be playing other games as well later on. Thanks to the Pavlovskis for having me over.
Thank you very much.
And we will talk to you again later. Take it back, podcast Hav. Great, fantastic game. That was a very quick game. Normally it doesn't usually go that quick. Though that day we played quite a few hands of Moon, and we didn't do too bad. I think I wound up a couple bucks ahead, and James and Zyda, fierce competitors. We had a great time. So once again, those are some of the games that friends of mine play, and you'll see many other games around the world. And what games do you play? So let me know some of the games that you play, and I'll mention them next time on the podcast. One of your old family favorites, maybe. I know there was games, because I had 3 siblings, made it very easy to play games, and our parents were very nice enough to give us a half closet. I don't even know what you call it. It was like a little closet, or half of it, and it was just filled to the brim with games that we played over the years. Now, some of them we wound up losing to pieces too, of course, because that's what kids do, or breaking them, or maybe even losing them if you lost too many games. I never did that, but I'm sure some of my siblings did. And so some of the games, like some of them were very old school. We talked about Risk, and Risk is a very old game. It's been around for a long time. even Stratego now has been around for a long time. But we're talking games like, of course, Monopoly that just about every family has played a version of at some point or other. Um, there is one that we used to play that I never saw again, and I don't even know. I doubt it's in existence. And it was a game called Careers, and it was about starting your career. You go and I believe you go to the college or university, and then you come out and you start your career, and you pick the career that you want, and you get so much money every turn because basically it's payday. But then you had to learn how to spend that money on different things. So it was kind of a game that you just go around the board, but you also at the same time you got to learn a little bit about finances and how to hold on to your money if you can. Great game called Careers. If anybody has a version of it, let me know. I would love to get my hands on it, just for the nostalgia's sake, and I would love to have a copy of that. So anyway, gaming great for the mind, great for the interaction, great for the the social aspects of it, great for learning things. Shoots and Ladders was a game used for educational purposes. Trouble, Mousetrap, games like that would teach you a little bit about how to work cohesively or how to build things. Um, Games like Stratego and Risk, of course, were all about strategy and how to position yourself and how to think, hopefully, think outside the box when you're young and get you thinking about other ways to look at things. Yes, they're competitive. Yes, somebody usually does win and somebody does lose. But again, going way back to what we were talking about sports a couple of weeks ago, that is okay. That is all right. The world, you need to learn in a safe environment how to lose. And so you take from that what you will. Some people will maybe take that in the negative aspect and never want to play that game again. Or you have a little bit of a competitive streak, or your siblings make fun of you, or you make fun of your siblings, and it gets them or you to start learning how to think in new ways, in different ways, on how you can beat them. And so then the first ever time that you actually beat them, and you really beat them, and they didn't let you try to win or give it to you, you actually won on your own thought power, your own brain processes. Is probably one of the greatest feelings that somebody can have ever. And not beating them into submission, you're just playing the game and you won the game. So it is worth a note to do that. So think about some of the games that you play with your family. Maybe you've played some unusual games, and let me hear about that. Maybe you haven't played a game in a long time and you're looking for it. So if you're looking for a certain game, let me know, and maybe myself or my friends have copies of it, and that'd be great. So that's our gaming section of the podcast. So now what I'm going to do as a special treat, I have the Keto Paleo Chocolate Brownies that I made from 2 weeks ago. I don't have the second part because they were so good. I wound up passing them out and gave them to everybody, and they were really good. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it to you so you can see how I did on it. So let's go to Chef Hob. Chef Hob has stuff that we are interested in listening to, and let's hear him talk about these brownies. Oh, hey, I forgot it's that time again. Thank you everybody for coming in into my humble abode, into my kitchen here. Last week we had a disaster. We've grown, we've learned, we've experienced, and now I'm going to try to mess something up again. So, what I have this time is keto chocolate brownies. So, keto, paleo is kind of basically the same. So, what I wound up doing was, and this is going to be my first time attempting at these particular type of brownies, so bear with me. Hopefully everything will turn out all right. So, what you do, and I'll post the recipe at the end of the show. So please watch the whole show, and at the end you can get the recipe from it. These are keto chocolate brownies. So you start out with the vegetable oil, and of course, because I always do doubles or more, I'm doing a double batch today, so wish me luck. All right, so I got my vegetable oil, a whole cup, a cup of water, some pure vanilla extract, and some flaxseed meal. So flaxseed, if you never worked with it, I've never worked for it. You can get it at HEB. It's readily available. So what you do is you mix all that together, and I don't know if you can see it. Probably, let me get. So you mix all that together and you let it go for about 15 minutes. So you want to get that reaction going from the flaxseed. From what I understand, this still looks really, really thin. So I was told this is what it's going to work, so we'll see. There's supposed to be a chemical reaction going on here of some sort. And then what I have in the dry ingredients are, instead of coconut flour, which it called for, I went ahead and went with this paleo baking flour. Bob's Red Mill, by the way, which is heavily prevalent in HEB and everywhere else that you can go. You add in the flour, paleo. I'm using the paleo brand. You can use coconut flour if you want, but we remember from last week the issue we had with coconut flour, so I decided to try and replace it with this and see how it goes. So you get a cup of that, cup of the cocoa powder. I'm using Guitard's Cocoa Rouge, unsweetened, and you add a couple of tablespoons of baking soda, not the powder, baking soda. So be sure you use the soda and not the powder, because there is a difference, and you will get a totally different outcome if you mess them up. Trust me, I've been there. You don't want to do it. And then we added a cup of pure cane. This is basically erythritol. We used it last week. We're using it again this week. And then at the end, after I mix it all up, I'm going to add some baking chips. Dark chocolate. They are stevia sweetened, so there's no sugar added. Stevia is still technically, in my opinion, a sugar, but it doesn't hit on the glycemic index as high for diabetics and for those who are trying to stay away sugar, like paleo and keto eaters. This might be the way to go. So we're going to try it out. So it's been more than 15 minutes, way more, because it took me longer to set this up, make sure the kitchen was clean. So it took me way longer. So this is ready to go. I'm going to put this into the dry ingredients. I'm going to get a handy dandy spatula. Make sure I'm looking so I don't screw it up. I want to get every last bit out of there. Get all that. Oh, by the way, the whiteness that you're seeing in here, I totally forgot, is Greek yogurt. So we are using Greek yogurt. Kind of has, I've never used it for baking before. Kind of has the same consistency of cream cheese. So we're going to give this a go. So here we go. We're going to be mixing it in, mixing it in, mixing it in. So while I have you here, I hope you've been enjoying my podcast. I'm very honored to have some great people that I've been interviewing. The ones I interviewed for today's episode having to do with nature, having to do with hiking and gardening. I really appreciate it. It was great fun. It will continue to be great fun for me. I hope it'll be great fun for you. I hope you get as much out of it as I'm putting into it. If you've never seen any of my episodes before, please go on to YouTube. They are readily available. They are public, and they are marked as Javier in the air. In the air, why is it in the air? Because we never know what comes up, we never know what comes down. So I'm mixing this up still. So if you have an opportunity, you might want to definitely check this out. Now, of course, none of these ingredients you can probably grow, which I know is part of the whole scheme of today's podcast. You may not be able to grow it, but you know, it looks good. And sometimes you just have to give in and say, you know what, I can't grow this. There are people that do a better job at it, so I'm going to let them continue to do things. Well, of course, like flaxseed meal, paleo flour. I mean, you wouldn't, unless you have a giant grinder in your old school or you live by a water mill, it's not going to happen. So anyway, all right, so I think I got this mixed up quite good. Quite well, I should say. So for those of you who really like your chocolate, I'm gonna go ahead now. I'm gonna, now that I've mixed this up pretty good, I'm gonna move away from the mixing part of it, and I'm gonna do a little folding. That's right. So I've learned the hard way that there's a difference between mixing and folding. Folding, you want to be quite gentle with your folding technique. So by the way, I'm throwing in a whole cup of these chocolate chips. So I'm going to try them out. I'm going to get the bigger spatula. By the way, also, if you guys don't like to clean, baking's not for you. You may want to stick to being on the spectator sports side of watching baking, because you will be washing a lot of things. So gently fold it in, fold it in. So you're doing, see if I can show you on here. I'm just kind of going around the rim and breaking it and folding in all those chocolate chips. So I don't know if you can see me. I'm doing it as gentle as I can be, which is not that gentle, but that's neither here nor there. So you don't want to do too much, and all you're trying to do is incorporate those chips into the mix. You don't want to break them up, you don't want to bust them up. Now, of course, with chips, it's not as hard to not break them when you're folding as it is for something, say, like something very soft like blueberries. So if you have something that calls for fresh blueberries at the end and it says fold them in, don't do like I've done countless times and just throwing in all the ingredients and just going for it. And next thing you know, you have a blueberry mush, and you're kind of like Violet Beauregard. Everything's purple. So gently fold them in. This is what this called for. Now, even though I did a double batch, I learned from last week. What did we learn from last week? Don't use that stinking pan right there. That's a 13-inch pan when it calls for a 9-inch. Even though I'm doing a double batch, because I can tell that this does not look like it's gonna go very high, as again, most of the flours that you have for keto and for paleo will not rise because they're not what is considered true flour. So I'm doling this in. It looks good so far, but then again, that's what I said last week, didn't I? It looked really good before I actually baked it. So, alright, so I'm going to bake this. And so here's what we have for it. So now, I noticed that it's really beginning to thicken, which again, whether it's the flaxseed or it's the flour, I don't know. But I do know that I need to spread it out as evenly as I can in the pan, nice and flat. Try to remember how flat looks. So we're gonna try this. Now what you do is you set your oven for 350 degrees, which I already have set. It's ready to go. Now remember, Javier's oven may take a little bit longer than it needs to. So it says 15 to 18 minutes. I'm going to give it 18 minutes and then see where it goes. Now what they say is that if you like it, it should come out closer to crumbly, which I've never seen any kind of paleo style type flours come out crumbly. Not when it's still hot, but that's what it says. So what you want to do is check it for consistency, but what they say, if you like them more fudgy, then you go 18 minutes, and even though it may still not be fully baked, you go ahead and take it out, let it cool down, and then stick it in the fridge like overnight. If you like them more of a cake style, which I do, then you can cook it a little bit longer, and then still eventually let it cool, and then stick it in the fridge like it says. So it also says to sprinkle some more chips on top. So I'm just going to do a little sprinkle dinkle, as I like to call it, Leo sprinkle dinkle there. So we're putting in the chocolate chips. Chocolate chips! Now, of course, they're not as sweet as some of the people watching probably want, like I mentioned before. But for me, someone who's just recently found out they're diabetic and is trying to make sure everything is good, I don't think I've had any kind of chocolate in at least 3.5 months. So this will be a treat for me. So we see how it comes out. So I'm going to stick this in the oven Kind of go dead center on that. I'm going to let it cook for 18 minutes. I'm going to set my timer for 18 minutes, even though I know I'm going to have to go more than that. So I'm going to let it go 18 minutes. I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it sit overnight. So second part of this is me coming back tomorrow and checking out the brownies, and then if they turn out all right, I may have my neighbors do a taste test for me and let me know what they think. So thank you everybody for listening, for watching chocolate brownies. I'll let you know how it goes. Back to regular interview, how. Once again, another great recipe from a great guy. I know that guy's great. Chef Hao will always be here with us, bringing you something as much as he can. He'll be I like to call him my filler guy. He fills in gaps in the podcast, and so I'll be bringing you recipes here every now and then with him. Maybe he might even have a guest, like we did that one time when we had James Takashita show us his spam rolls and our musubi, I should say, and we'll talk more about that at another podcast and just see what he brings. It's always an exciting on what he's gonna make. So we've come to the close to the end of our experience here, Javier in the air. Last time I brought you an older beer review that I had, and this time what I wanted to do is I wanted to go ahead. Still a little bit short on time. I apologize for everyone who makes it go longer than they might normally want to watch me. Hopefully I'm bringing you enough entertainment. So I'm going to do an actual on live beer review this time. This is from Circle Brewery out of Austin, Texas, right down the street from me being in Cedar Park. So here we have this is their Alibi. So let me Circle Alibi. This is a blonde ale. So definitely something that is easygoing. They says it's reminiscent of a Maibach. So if you're familiar with that, then you might get the taste out of it. So once again, brought to you by the great team of Jenna and Scott out at the Brewtique. Once again, they are open for seating. Still practicing the social distance. However, they do have the seating. So if you are in the Cedar Park area, come on out, talk to them, let them know what you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in the Circle Brewing Alibi. Maybe you're interested into some ciders. They carry a lot of good ciders, including the dark side. And so if you can, go on out there. So we're going to go ahead and very light on the aroma. As you see, I poured myself. I got a big head on this one. Very light, very tasty. A little bit of a citrus smell to it. Not too much on the front end. A great finish to it. I'm just going to top off my beer here. Don't worry about it. And so, really good. Flavorful. It is only 4.3, I believe it said. Yes, 4.3 ABV. So it's a nice beginning starter beer of the evening. Excuse me. Unless to you that is heavy, and then maybe it's a good finishing beer. So definitely recommend it for something light if you're having maybe fish, or if you want to have something else. Nothing leaning towards the heavy really, though. Of course, if you like to have something light to finish after a heavy meal, then this would be a good one too. I like to have this as a starter and work my way to heavier beers. It's a great finish to it. I think Circle guys did a great job on it, so I'm going to go ahead and give this 8 thumbs up, all the way up. If you disapprove of my rating, please let me know in the comments in the podcast on the YouTube channel. And so I am going to finish up this beer and work my way through it And I want to thank you, everyone, again for watching my podcast, for the subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. If you'd like to get notifications rather than just on my Facebook, please join my YouTube channel. And you just search for Javier in the Air, or if you get my Facebook posting, then you can just go there to the YouTube channel and then add yourself as a subscriber. I am always looking for new and fresh talent. Anybody who wants to be on and talk about something that they're passionate about, whether it be beer or gaming or anything really. I will. The only two that I bar are politics and religion, for obvious reasons. And so everything else is fair game. So if you want to talk about anything, I'd like to maybe get some hunters and talk about what drives them as far as the hunting goes. I'd love to hear from scientists, cooking people that are on the front line as far as COVID goes. And so definitely like to hear from people. Oh, by the way, James and Zyder are part of my COVID pod. I didn't know what that was till just the other day, so you can look it up as well. So that's why none of us were wearing masks. We don't go anywhere. All we do is go back and forth to each other's house to play games, and that's it. So I hope everyone stays safe. Have a fun week, and I will talk to you again next week. And I will be putting the theme out there, and if anybody's interested, let me know, and I can get some more interviews going. All right, everybody. Until next time, I'll talk to you. This is Javier, and I'll talk to you next time.